Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Hack Shack. Today we're going to be making Hack Shack tobacco whack. Let's get cracking. Let's get guacking. No, this is bullshit. What we need is a hack knife.
After Maker's Central, we all went down to Somerset and had a hammer in at Alex's forge. Now, some people knew what they were doing, but others were there to learn, and Alex taught us how to laminate steel in order to make a knife blank. It seemed like a really daunting process, but Alex taught us really well, and me and Red gave it a go. Basically, you're sandwiching a hard piece of steel in between two soft pieces of steel and forge welding it, and that's what makes the cutting edge of the knife. Jess and Ellen had a load of fun in their first time in the forge, and they took home a couple of souvenirs that they'd made themselves. While I was hammering away at my tiny little knife, Brett and Alex were over on the big boys' toys making a huge axe drift. And I learned very quickly that if you don't hold tight, things start to go flying. It was a really awesome day with really awesome people.
Now we've ended up with this, so obviously it needs a bit of work.
So let's get to it. Someone from the community kindly donated this bench grinder to me, so we're just going to start out by securing it to the hack bench. Now, something's really exciting about working with metal, but it's also really scary as well. All the tools seem to be a lot louder, a lot faster, or a lot hotter. And the things you make can also be a lot sharper. I'm only really learning how to use the angle grinder, but it's very quickly becoming my favourite tool in the shack. I managed to get it pretty sharp with the grinding process, but just to get a fine edge on it I just went to the stone.
That's more like it.
So I know what you're thinking, why is there tobacco in your guaco, Jacko? Well, let me tell you a story. Once upon a time there was a famous chef, and he liked a bit of the good stuff. Drugs, sex, rock and roll, and a lot of booze. Now, one time this chef had to sit through a 30-course meal in a super fancy restaurant, and all he could think about was how he was going to go out for a cigarette break. Now, the owner of the restaurant knew this, and instead of making him suffer all day without a smoke, he decided to make one of the courses a creme brulee infused with tobacco. So this is my take on it. Smoke roasting the tomatoes in a really hot oven over some pipe tobacco.
So, if you've not made your own tortilla chips, you're missing out. Sure, you could go and buy a bag of Doritos, but you could also buy furniture at IKEA, so... Now, if you insist on deep frying in the shed, make sure that the doors are open, and make sure that you don't have some sort of bench with like spinning dispensing things that could send hot fat flying all over the place.
If you can make your guacamole in a pestle and mortar, do it. It makes the flavours come together a lot nicer. Now this little bad boy might not look like much, but it's the last surviving chili off my plant that I forgot to water while I was away for 2 weeks at Maker's Central. Luckily Carlos is making a speedy recovery and he's now got all his leaves back. Some finely diced sweet white onion and we can start bringing it all together. As with everything in life, season well, And let's have a check on those tomatoes. The roasted garlic just gives it a more rounded, meatier flavour than raw garlic would. You want to grind this up a bit, but you don't want it to become a puree. You still want it a bit rustic. This is the Hack Shack after all.
Oh, shit.
Now try and get ripe avocados if you can. There's nothing worse than trying to make guacamole with crunchy avocados. Now I do love lime. I love lime! But this is more just to stop the avocados from going brown than adding too much flavour. You don't want to overpower it. And last but not least, the tobacco smoked tomatoes. Now granted, these were a bit of an experiment, but they turned out way nicer than I thought they would.
Well, there we go. Hack Shack tobacco guac. Just one more thing, because as we all know, it can't legally be called shack guac without chorizo sprinkles! Holy shit, that is the best guacamole I've ever had.